Hey there, history enthusiasts. Welcome to another episode of Touring History, where we stroll through the Museum of Time with no admission fee. I'm Lane.
And I'm your host, Dave. Lane's not here. Today's May 8th, 2025, and we've got a jam-packed tour of history for you today, folks.
That's right, Dave. May 8th is one of those days where history really outdid itself. Like when a chef puts too many toppings on a pizza, but somehow it still works.
Oh, that's a terrible analogy, Lane. But I appreciate the effort, and I'm hungry just because of it. Let's dive into the historical buffet, shall we?
Absolutely. First up, let's talk birthdays. On
Yes.
May 8th, 1884, Harry S. Truman was born in Lamar, Missouri.
You know what the S stood for? Nothing. Yes, our 33rd president, the S in Harry Truman, doesn't actually stand for anything. It's just an S. His parents sat there and couldn't decide between his grandfather's names, so they just went with the letter.
That's the kind of commitment issues that usually prevent people from becoming president.
Well, that's Missouri common sense, Lane. Also celebrating birthdays on May 8th, Sir David Attenborough, born
Oh.
1926.
The man who spent more time whispering near dangerous animals than anyone in history.
Yes, he probably thought he was on a golf course for animals. His voice is
Oh.
so soothing that I've heard lions fall asleep mid-attack when he starts narrating. Roar!
And lastly, Enrique Iglesias was born on this
Bueno!
day in 1975. The man who taught us that you can be a hero, baby.
I remember when that song came out. I tried serenading my wife with it, and she asked me if I was having some kind of medical emergency.
Should have stuck with the Macarena, Dave.
That's what I said. Oh well,
All right, on to, I don't know, some historical events.
shall we?
World War II. May 8th, 1945, Victory in Europe Day was celebrated, marking the end of World War II in Europe.
Well, hold on. Didn't we just say yesterday that Germany surrendered on May 7th? Well,
We sure did, Dave. The Germans actually surrendered on May 7th in Rheims, France, but the Allies decided to officially celebrate it on May 8th.
okay, confused here. So they essentially said, hey, biggest war in human history is over, but let's sleep on it and celebrate tomorrow. I'm beat. I mean, that's like winning the lottery and waiting a day to cash the ticket. I'll do it tomorrow. And then you wake up.
I get around.
Where
I'll
did,
get around to it
where did
eventually.
I put that thing? It's here somewhere.
I think they wanted Stalin to have his own surrender ceremony in
Ah,
Berlin.
got it.
Politics, man. It's
Yeah,
like high school, but with nuclear weapons.
right. I want it. Now, yeah, I'm going to stuff you in a locker, Winston. Millions of people celebrated in the streets. In London, over 1 million people partied in Trafalgar Square and outside Buckingham Palace.
In New York, 2 million people packed Times Square. Can you imagine 2 million people? That's more people than have ever laughed at one of your jokes, Dave.
Well, all right, maybe 1.9, but yeah, funny. That hurts, Lane. That hurts real deep, but not as deep as World War II, which claimed over 70 million lives.
And on that sobering note, let's move on.
Yeah.
On May 8th, 1886, Coca-Cola was served for the very first time at Jacob's Pharmacy in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, I'm sure that was a big push to get that one out. Invented by a pharmacist, John Stilf Pemberton, well, there's a name for you, who originally created it as a medicinal syrup. And back then, it actually contained cocaine, which,
Ooh.
explained why people were so productive back in the 1800s and why sold
Yeah,
out in a day.
that's not historically accurate,
Oh,
Dave.
yes. Yeah, but it's funny to think about. The drink sold for 5 cents a glass. I'll have another. Now you can't even buy the air in the cup for 5 cents.
Pemberton claimed it could cure morphine addiction, headaches, and impotence.
Oh,
So
there you go.
basically, it was the 19th century version of all those emails that go straight to your spam folder.
Ooh, Coca-Cola. Except this one went on to become the most recognized brand in the world. So maybe we should be checking our spam more carefully. Hmm?
Yeah, good point. Good point. Also on May 8th, 1978, Reinhold Messner and Peter Habler became the first people to climb Mount Everest without supplemental oxygen.
Yeah. I'm almost there. I get winded walking up a flight of stairs with all the oxygen in the world.
Most people do, Dave. At the summit of Everest, There's only about a third of the oxygen available at sea level.
Really?
Doctors had predicted that attempting to climb without oxygen would result in irreversible brain damage or death.
Oh, yeah. Another one of those doctors, like the guy who said, "Don't run under 4 minutes or your heart'll explode."
Yeah,
Sounds like the
explode.
kind of thing my doctor would say if I told him I was trying to climb Everest.
Your doctor says that when you tell him you're planning to climb the stairs, Dave.
That's true. Harsh, but true.
On May 8th, 1984, the Soviet Union announced it would boycott the Summer Olympics in Los Angeles.
Oh, tit for tat. This was basically payback for the U.S. boycotting the 1980 Moscow Olympics. It's like when my judgy neighbor didn't invite me to his barbecue. So I didn't invite him to my pool party, except I don't have a pool and with world-class athletes instead of overcooked hamburgers.
The Soviets claimed they were concerned about anti-Soviet hysteria and security issues, but everyone knew it was just Cold War tit for tat.
See, tit for tat. The real
You
loser.
said it. You called it.
I called that one. The real losers with the athletes who trained their whole lives for a chance they never got. It's like practicing a joke for years and then being told you can't deliver the punchline.
Is that something you do, Dave? Practice jokes for years?
Yes, I do. Hold on.
Uh,
I've got two more on this one, so this one will have to wait.
okay. On May 8th, 2003, a record heat wave scorched parts of India and Pakistan with temperatures reaching up to 122 degrees Fahrenheit.
God, it's so hot out here. Woo! Let's go inside where we can cool off. That's so hot that eggs don't just fry in the sidewalk, they arrive pre-scrambled. I worked 4 years on that one.
Not how temperature works, Dave. But I appreciate the effort. The heat wave claimed over 1,000 lives. Climate extremes are no joke, which is why Dave should probably stop trying to make jokes about them.
Okay, I'll cut it down to 2 years instead. Fair point. I'm sweating just thinking about it, and I'm in an air-conditioned studio.
All right, folks, it's time for a short break. Stick
Oh,
around for more history after these messages.
hello.
Hey, history fans, have you ever wondered what the greatest invention of all time is? Some
No,
might say the wheel, others might say the internet, but I'd argue it's the donut.
I would have said donut, and not just any donut. Rise Donuts in Wilton, Connecticut, where history and donut pastry meet in perfect harmony.
These artisanal donuts are handcrafted daily in small batches using techniques that would make Renaissance masters weep with joy.
You know what I love about the Rise of Donuts Lane?
What, eh? What?
The creativity. They've got flavors like maple bacon, lavender, lemon, and something called the Wilton Way, which changed my life more than my first divorce.
Ah, that's quite the endorsement, Dave.
Thank
Each
you.
donut is like a little work of art, except you can eat it and it actually tastes good, unlike that time I tried to eat a Picasso.
Yeah, that one didn't go down so well. Yeah, well, we'll pass on that one. No pun intended.
It was a print, Dave. Relax. Anyway, Rise Donuts uses only the finest ingredients. No preservatives, no artificial flavors, just pure donut perfection.
Donut. It's like if history had a flavor and that flavor was delicious. Well, I don't know what that means, but I stand by it.
If you're in Wilton, Connecticut, you owe it to yourself to visit Rise Donuts. And if you're not in Wilton, Connecticut, well, it's worth the pilgrimage.
Yeah, it's like a Hajj for donuts. And don't forget to follow them on Instagram at Rise Donut to see daily creations that'll make your mouth water more than Pavlov's dogs at a bell factory.
I think you got some Picasso stuck in your teeth there.
Oh, and my throat.
Rise Donuts, making history one donut at a time.
Hey, thanks for joining us.
We're back. On May 8th, 1970, the Beatles released their final studio album, Let It Be.
Technically, they recorded Abbey Road after Let It Be, but Let It Be was released later. It's like when you prepare a great comeback in an argument, but only think of it on the drive home. Damn, why didn't I think of that?
I should have said that. I should have said that. The album featured classics like the title track, Let It Be, The Long and Winding Road, and Get Back. It was produced by Phil Spector, which was a bit like letting a hurricane organize your closet.
Yeah, we all know what happened to Phil. Paul
Ooh.
McCartney was so unhappy with Spector's production that he later released Let It Be Naked in 2003, which stripped away all the orchestration. It's like when you order a burger and they take everything off except the patty.
At
Patty.
that point, at that point, just eat a steak, Dave.
Yeah, it's so true. The album came out a month after the band had already announced their breakup. Whew, talk about awkward timing. Yeah, it was like sending wedding invitations after they already filed for divorce.
On May 8th, 1999, Nancy Mace became the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the previously all-male military college in South Carolina.
It was a big deal because the Citadel had been all male for 156 years until the Supreme Court forced them to admit women in 1996. It's like when my club finally allowed left-handed people to join, except with significantly more historical importance.
Don't let those lefties in. Come on.
I'm
I don't
left-handed.
think that's a thing, Dave.
It is. They let me in. You'd be surprised about the anti-lefty bias in recreational shuffleboard. I mean, the scissor thing, the desks. It's awful.
Anyway, Mace went on to become a U.S. representative for South Carolina. She literally went from breaking barriers to making laws. That's what I call a career trajectory.
That's very true.
On May 8th, of 1980, the World Health Organization officially declared smallpox eradicated from the planet.
Yes, but measles is back.
Oh, yeah,
Smallpox.
baby. We're
We're
bringing
back.
back all the hits. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
Next. And whooping cough is on its way.
Yeah, man. Whoop, whoop.
Can I get a whoop whoop? Let's have a hand for anthrax. Smallpox was one of the deadliest diseases in human history, killing an estimated 300 million people in the 20th century alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
The last naturally occurring case was in Somalia in 1977. A global immunization campaign that began in 1967 finally wiped it out completely. And you know why it worked, Dave?
Why?
They didn't ask anyone to wear a mask.
It's true. That's true. But you know what? Measles is back. It's the first and only human disease to be completely eradicated, but not measles, although my doctor says my sense of humor should be next.
Your doctor might be onto something there, Dave. On May 8th, 2018, President Trump announced that the United States would withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
We're out of here. The deal, officially called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, where do they get these things, had been negotiated by the Obama administration, along with several other world powers.
Trump called it a horrible, one-sided deal that should never have been made.
Yep.
It's like when you agree to trade your dessert for someone else's vegetable and then immediately regret it.
That's right. I want 2 scoops. I think it was slightly more complicated than that, Lane, but I don't know. I wasn't there. Of course, I'm left-handed and they didn't invite me.
I'm simplifying for the audience, Dave. Just keep up.
All right.
And finally, on May 8th, 2007, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed above 13,300 for the first time in history.
Woohoo! Back then, 13,300 seemed like a hell of a lot. Now it seems like pocket change, which is all I have after the last crash. It's like when you find a $20 bill in an old jacket, and remember, when that could buy dinner and a movie instead of just half a movie ticket.
Yeah, the economy is always changing, Dave. That's why they call it dynamic.
Ooh, it's so dynamic. It's also called depressing.
That too, sometimes. Well, that wraps up our historical tour for May 8th. I'm Lane.
And I'm Dave, reminding you that history doesn't repeat itself, but it does occasionally plagiarize itself, and hope nobody notices.
That makes no sense, Dave.
Yes, I know, because I'm left-handed. History rarely does, Lane. Thanks for touring with us, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Bye.